Hi, Neeti. Nice to meet
Nice
you.
too.
Welcome. Like I said before, we're focusing really on the storytelling aspect of this entire realm of generative AI, really focusing on the stories of the human beings that are working in this world and how the experiences in their lives have colored how they're
Mhm.
working with this technology. So I'd love to start with, if you're taking a big picture look at your trajectory, what would you say is a through line or a theme that keeps coming up in your story?
That's a hard one because I think at different parts of your life and career and growth, many different things shape you, of course, but different people you meet and different experiences you have. But I found this question really interesting, and it actually made me a little bit introspective because I was thinking, okay, what's the one thing if I were to tell somebody, the through line that you talked about? And I think it is always thinking outside the box. I think the a maverick nature is how I put it, but actually, always looking past what is possible at that moment, or what you see around you and what you think is possible and what you want to achieve or what you want to learn or who you want to meet or the kind of difference you want to make. I think even as a young child, I see that now that I was pushing the status quo a little bit. Definitely did that during my teenage years, like all other teens. And then, growing up, going to university or my first few jobs and also starting automation anywhere, I think believing and understanding that what you see around you can be influenced by different thinking and by out of the box thinking, I think is key, at least in my life. I think it has shaped me a lot.
So I know in my family, there's always like those stories that come up that show like this is who this person is, right? This is the one moment that always happens, right? Is there a moment from your early life that exemplifies that maverick nature or that outside of the box nature for you?
I'll answer that a little bit differently to say it was actually the lack of a moment like that that made it, I think, true for me. And that was the fact that, again, looking back at life now, I didn't think any of this was not possible, if that makes sense. I didn't think of myself as a woman. I didn't think of myself as, I grew up in India, so I didn't think of myself as, okay, I'm a girl in India living in a city at this time of life, or nothing defined me, if that makes sense. So that lack of definition actually was fantastic because I believed everything was possible. I didn't think that I was surpassing anything or breaking a glass ceiling here or thinking differently than other women at that point or believing what was possible or not possible. I just was. And I think to me, the fact that my parents allowed me, so to speak, to grow up in that fashion
Yeah.
was one of the biggest blessings. And I am very grateful for that because it never defined me. I didn't put myself in any sort of box. And I think to me, that made me who I am.
That's a really cool point when it comes to getting all of these messages from the world of defining who you are and creating that box around you. And it sounds like your parents helped to not, or did they shield you from those messages? Or was it that they said, hey, don't pay attention to that? Or,
I don't know. I think as a mom now, I
Mhm.
feel, children look up, whether they admit it or believe it or talk about it. I think they look up to how your parents, how their parents, deal with them, I think, or deal with life. And I think the environment I grew up in, it was like very clearly, if you want to do it, do it. If you want to believe it, believe it. If you want to try something new, get there, and we'll help you and we'll support you, but it's up to you. It's you who are defining you. And I think as a mom, I appreciate that so much more because I know it's hard and I know it's very critical, I think, for the growth of children in so many ways. And the next generation has so many more problems that they will have to solve very differently than how we would have solved them. And so knowing that they can and believing that they can is half the battle, I think.
Something from your bio that's pretty notable is the fact that you are one of the few women globally that founded a $1 billion organization. And because you're one of the few women in the room, how does that shape how you lead or also the messages that you're sending to either the people in your organization or your kids, the world? What does that do for you? or do to you?
It's the outside in perspective, isn't it? Because the inside out perspective is, what do I want to do? How do I want to contribute? What kind of work do I want to do? How do I want to grow my career? What do I want to learn? And all of the above is again defined by you, in my opinion, versus, you might have influences, of course, and people who are naysayers and people who are supporters. If you can increase the volume of the people who support you and decrease the volume of the people who don't, then I think you can be more you. And I think that's again coming back to that. It doesn't matter to me. I would love automation anywhere and the platform that we've created, the technology and the intelligent automation and artificial intelligence that is shaping the world to really make a difference in organizations, in how people develop the next level of products and services, how we treat healthcare, how we treat other human beings, and how human we become over the next few years, right? So if you focus on that, it's really not about the success of starting a company that is valued at a certain amount. It's really about the mission of the company and the product that we want to put it out in the market and what kind of difference we want to make. And I think to me, that's the cool factor. That's the motivator. And I hope the people around us, the young people around us, whether it's our children or mentorees that we have or other youth who are trying to make a difference, see that passion and that value for creating something that we can impact the world with. Everything else is, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Now, I work at a women led company too. And the generative AI technology is this emerging industry. And sometimes it feels like this is an opportunity where women can be in leadership
Mhm.
more so than they have been in the
Mhm.
past. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing where the opportunities are for women in leadership in relationship to generative AI or AI in general?
Absolutely. In fact, I think my position is it's extremely imperative. We've been given an opportunity by the way technology has grown, and especially in the artificial intelligence and generative AI fields, to utilize this moment to bridge that inclusivity gap that we've had over the last many centuries. And, if we do it right, we can actually take this opportunity. And I've heard multiple numbers from various sources that for women and men to be equally, whether it's from an equality perspective, whether it's from a salary perspective or a growth and career perspective or leadership perspective, it might be about 100 years before we kind of bridge that gap. But I think just the way technology has progressed, if we do this right, we can reduce that 100 years to a much, much more smaller number. And I think it is about giving that inclusivity, learning, and leadership capability to women now so that they can actually bridge that gap. If we do it right, we have that moment of leapfrog, which doesn't come often. It doesn't come easily. But if we do it right, we really can bridge that. We can make that 100 years, hopefully, in a couple of decades or 30 years or 40 years versus 100 years, because we can get more women into these new technologies. We can get more leadership of women into these technologies. We can build these technologies at this moment of time with a more diverse and inclusive mindset, both from a strategy perspective and a data perspective. And I think that's a phenomenal opportunity, and we need to do that right now. So, yes, I absolutely think women should step up. I think we should challenge ourselves. I think society should, but women definitely should. And we should bring that to pass.
Where are some areas, specifically in the AI and robotic learning world and machine learning world, that you see, oh, this would be a great opportunity for the ground to be level, for women to step up, or for people who are historically at an advantage to open the door to women? Are there specific areas that you're seeing?
So there are many areas. I think you can look at it from the lens of industry, or you can look at it from a reskilling lens, upskilling lens. So, one of the ways, and that's one of the things that I'm focused on as well at Automation Anywhere, is how can we use this moment of time to really help upskill a more diverse population? And if we do, because let's take a step back. If you have digital inclusion, if you have more people who are from whether man or woman, whether from Africa or India or US, or whether from a rural area or an urban area, whether from the north or the south, it doesn't matter, right? The more inclusive the digital inclusion, the more inclusive the data sets. The more inclusive the data sets, the more inclusive the products and services that come out of artificial intelligence. So if you take a step back and say digital inclusion is one of those levers we can pull and push at this moment in time to make everything more inclusive, then reskilling is a great way to do so, or upskilling is a great way to do so. And we have a focused effort from all tech firms, of course, but from governments, from society, from communities to bring more diverse populations into these upskilling programs that we have. Learning to use the computer, learning to use different technologies, learning to use automation technologies, learning to use ChatGPT or other generative AI tools. All of this kind of makes you part of that ecosystem of the next wave of products and services. So to me, reskilling is a great way, upskilling is a great way to actually bring that to pass. And that's some of the work that I'm doing at Automation Anywhere, working significantly to try and push that agenda as much as we can to bridge that gap.
And that actually opens up a great opportunity to talk a little bit more about your work at Automation Anywhere. Talk us through some of the formative moments then and how you landed at where you are as a social impact officer.
That's a great question. And, I'm a founder here, of course. So the early years, you did everything that you had to get done, of course. And that's how my career was. But I led marketing here for very many number of years. And that's my background. I'm a consumer behavior slash marketing slash brand person. That's what my learning was. And that's what I love doing. And then about 4 or 5 years of my life, I wanted to focus a little bit more on brand development and culture development. And I think that was extremely important to us at Automation Anywhere because we really believe that if you are a software robotics company, you really needed to tap into the humanness of everything we do. Whether it's from a culture internal perspective, how we deal with our employees, what we do with our employees, what the culture for growth is here, what the culture for developing products is here would matter. And so I led brand and culture for a while. And that included, of course, traditional brand marketing and other focus areas. But it also included CSR. As in a lot of other companies, a lot of the CSR work was led by brand and by HR or people experiences. And that's what we did. But once I started working in CSR a little bit more, I realized that this was something we needed to focus on even more than we did. And I decided to start our first impact office because I believed in three things that I think at Automation Anywhere we could leave a lasting legacy of impact. One is the reskilling, upskilling piece that we just spoke about, and how we should really focus our energies on making it as inclusive and diverse as possible, but also bring in as many people from different industries as possible. Not have just tech folks in it, people from healthcare and people from logistics and people from government and people from marketing organizations, people from learning institutions, and how do we bring all of them together? But then also, how do we bring in reskilling minorities and women, and then certain areas, rural areas? How do we bring in people of color? Just how can we get as diverse and inclusive in our reskilling efforts? So that was one pillar that I really wanted us to focus on. And then the second pillar was actually bringing our platform and our technology, which is intelligent automation and artificial intelligence, to nonprofits. We see the impact it makes in the corporate world, and we see the productivity and efficiency gains from the largest banks in the world to the largest governments in the world, just across the board, largest healthcare companies in the world. And the leadership here, we really believed nonprofits should be using this technology to do more because, again, look at the climate refugees we've had over the last few years. Look at the refugees and the war crises we have. We came out of a pandemic. Just the nonprofit world in itself could do more because society needs more if we are able to enable them with these technologies. So really one of the second pillars of focus for us is to bring nonprofits productivity and efficiency gains by using technologies like ours. And then third and not the least, of course, was community involvement. And how do we as a group of people at Automation Anywhere do more for the communities we live and work in? So I thought if we were serious about these three pillars, and if we really wanted to create an impact, we needed some focus and dedication around it. And so I stepped back from my traditional brand and marketing role to say, okay, this is the time, this is important. We have an opportunity to become more inclusive as society is if we concentrate on reskilling and upskilling. And if we bring a nonprofit's productivity and efficiency gains, hopefully we can leapfrog a lot of bias, a lot of societal problems, and really enable our technology to leave a lasting impact. And that's kind of why I stepped back from my traditional career path to say this is the moment in time. I feel really passionately about it. I think we are at a great crossroads to make a difference. And that's what I've been doing, leading our impact process.
That's amazing. And I'm somebody who's also very passionate about social impact and ethics and human rights. And so, as somebody who is in a marketing role, sometimes does feel like there is a tug of war. And it's amazing to say, you know what, we are anchoring our brand values in actual action. It's not just about saying who we are, it's about being who we are. Yeah.
It's absolutely right. And, I know you know this, but, artificial intelligence has a lot of ethics requirements, has a lot of responsible AI strategic mindset that's needed. And, what can we do to pull that lever as women in leadership, for example? We can bring a point of view, a way of operating that can hopefully lead to more responsible AI. And so being part of that conversation is just as important. I've been working on responsible AI even as a part of my brand leadership job profile over the last few years. So it was as early as, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago that we started working on responsible AI and what it means, how we're going to develop our products for responsible AI. And again, coming back to how can we get that to be more inclusive? At Automation Anywhere, we wrote a responsible AI manifesto many years ago to kind of start influencing how we start thinking about this and what's important for us as an organization, and then bring that to the impact world. And you want responsible AI and the ethics of AI to show up, but you want it to show up at all levels. You want it to show up at the strategic level, at the data level, at the implementation level, at the reskilling level, at the nonprofit level, right? So it's kind of a convergence, I think, of many important things at this moment in time, and how we influence it, how we work around it. That's important. I've spoken to your CEO as well, and that's why it's important to have a leadership of thought, leadership of consciousness, and leadership of inclusivity, leadership of focused effort around what we want to accomplish. And it really is a moment in time. We live in very, very interesting times. And that's the fun part, I think.
Yeah. I want to take us back to talking about upskilling and reskilling for a moment, because obviously, as people are facing down this generative AI revolution, that's the big question. What does that look like? Can you speak to that a little bit more? Is there a favorite story of, before and after when it comes to reskilling, upskilling from your experiences at Automation Anywhere and your customers and clients?
Oh, so many. You got me started talking on my favorite topic. But,
Good.
one of the biggest motivators, I think, for all humans is other humans. And when you hear their stories of how they are trying to become part of this ecosystem and how they're trying to change their lives and their communities, it's superbly inspiring. For example, we've done upskilling with minorities in the US in itself. I mean, let's start at home, right? It boggles the mind that a nation as big and as prosperous as ours has pockets of regions or communities that have been really stagnating. They have not been given the opportunity. Again, they have the talent, don't get me wrong. They have the talent, they have the drive, they have the passion. But if we just give them that opportunity, they can become part of this ecosystem. So, for example, we worked with a social partner in the Mississippi Delta, where we brought intelligent automation jobs to that area, which is facing negative growth, negative population growth, negative economical growth. There's sometimes no corporate employer within a 200, 400-mile radius. And, we live in the world of remote work. How can we not have them be part of this ecosystem? So we've done some fantastic upskilling, reskilling work there. We've trained folks who literally have gone from flipping burgers at McDonald's to a $120,000 tech job in 3 to 6 months. This is inspiring to me. This is the fact that if you just give them that opportunity to upskill themselves, humans will always, always surprise you. And in a good way, in a really good way. We've trained women who have been trafficked. We've trained single moms. We've trained refugees. And, I'll give you one story of a refugee we helped train through, again, these fantastic social partners that we work with. Refugees coming out of the Ukraine or Afghanistan or Burma, Myanmar, moving to Japan. So, first of all, think about their lives, how culturally different that life is. Having to learn Japanese, for example, right? Living in that community and culture, which is so different from theirs, overnight, suddenly in charge of their families and the economic growth of their families. We were able to upskill and reskill them into these tech jobs in, again, 3 to 4 months. And the fantastic part about technology is that it really surpasses certain language barriers. You understand a little bit of coding or a little bit of algorithms, and you understand a little bit of how to use these low code no code platforms like automation anywhere, and you can land that job without having that time requirement to learn Japanese, for example, in this case, right? That makes a big difference to the refugee, of course, but the family they support, other refugees that they can then help, and also for the host countries to have these people actually be part of the economic environment versus not. So, just fantastic stories. We've trained at-risk youth. Again, in South America, we've trained, at-risk youth and women in Africa. We've trained at-risk women in the Silicon Valley. I mean, just think about it. So again, coming back to that simple thread, we have an opportunity. We understand technology. If we can bring that training and reskilling and help pave that way a little bit easier for these folks, that inclusivity will serve all of us, all of us. It serves all of us with better products and services. It serves all of us with better technology, more responsible technology, more ethical technology. And I think it's not just a responsibility, it's a privilege.
And it feels especially like an opportunity with generative AI technology because it's giving people an opportunity to let go of so-called grunt work, right?
Mhm,
Offload that
mhm.
to AI so that way they can bring out their innovation and creativity in new ways.
That's absolutely right. Yep.
Yeah. When it comes to, I guess, the big idea that will change the world, you've talked about humans enabled by digital workers are the future of work. What role does generative AI play in pushing that idea forward?
I'll answer that a little bit anecdotally, I think, as well as I would like to make it a little bit more far reaching than just generative AI. I think artificial intelligence, and in my case, at least in our industry, intelligent automation in itself. I think, what the PC did for work. It changed what was possible in accounting, what was possible in finance, what was possible in HR, what was possible in product development, what was possible in healthcare. It really touched every part of work. And I think intelligent automation, artificial intelligence, these technologies are like that. They will be leveraged in multitudes of ways. Your imagination really will be able to take off because these technologies make certain things possible. And that's the key. If we can leverage these catalyst technologies to really unleash the next generation of human creativity, human productivity, human thought, human imagination, then that's the purpose of technology, isn't it? It's all about human enablement. And so, if these technologies, again, are utilized responsibly, of course, but utilized well, we will be much, much better off as a society. And that's what I think is really exciting about this time. It's exciting about what will happen the next 5 7 years. We will not have seen a world where certain things were possible and now they will be possible because of technologies like artificial intelligence and intelligent automation. And I'm a little bit of a positive thinker where this is concerned. I think if we can rely on humans to build the guardrails right, I think life will change. Life, whether it's in medical, whether it's in banking and finance, and the wealth that is created for the world, maybe hunger, maybe how we deal with other societal community led issues. Everything will change because of this. And maybe we have a shot at dealing with climate change. These things need a certain level of possibilities being unleashed, and these technologies will help us unleash it.
When you're talking to enterprise leaders about reskilling and upskilling in response to these technological innovations that do displace people, what are some big pillars or insights that you can provide in terms of putting together a plan of reskilling and upskilling their existing workers?
Progress, unfortunately, does have a certain displacement, I think, whether it's displacement of certain skill sets or certain jobs, like you mentioned. But if the end result is something we believe in, and we believe that's a better way to live, work, whatever, for communities, then let's do it in a humane way, and let's do it in a way that it's all our problems. That's how I look at it. So the upskilling, reskilling aspect of all your employees today need to be upskilled, reskilled, understand what these new technologies can do for them as people, for their careers, for their job profiles, and so forth. I like to give this example that decades ago, I think, when the telephone first came out, we had these little telephone operators, right, who would move, switches basically, and it was manual. And it was a job that basically a lot of women did, for example, and in a lot of different countries. Those jobs no longer exist. But can you imagine communication and how far it has come because of that transition? And if we can help those women upskill and reskill themselves so that they're part of these new technologies and new ways of doing things, then they continue to grow both economically, professionally, and so forth. And their communities then grow, of course. So, to me, as a strategic leader of any large organization, we need to look at how can we help our employees upskill, reskill, understand how these new technologies will help and aid them in the work that they do, and then also help them transition. If certain jobs are a little bit more manual and repetitive, they're probably going to transition out. But the humans have the domain expertise, the humans have the subject matter expertise. So leverage that, help upskill, reskill them, and you'll be better off as an organization. Again, it gives you a competitive advantage. It gives you an advantage over developing the new products and services, and brings your communities up again. So to me, it's a win-win. If you can help transition right, if you can help and put a focused effort around this, then I think even as an organization or as a community, you will be better off.
Because this is a show about AI, how are you using AI in your day-to-day life, if at all?
No, I absolutely do. I think our organization, Automation Anywhere, in itself, internally, the culture, we have a big drive towards drinking our own champagne. And so a lot of our manual and repetitive tasks by department have been automated. We use our own bots for the work we ask our customers and partners to consider doing. And to me, that's one of the ways that we utilize it, of course. The other ways, I think generative AI, especially ChatGPT, has been quite instrumental in some of the, again, simple work I think that we do on a day to day basis. It has helped enhance it, it has helped make it faster. So that's definitely some of the ways that we're utilizing it. From a marketing perspective, there's just so many products and services that have come out using intelligence and artificial intelligence in its delivery. Better graphics, or better PowerPoint presentations, or better, faster ways of doing certain things. I think all of the above, I definitely utilize on a day to day basis. I see the value it brings to my team. I see the value it brings to what we can accomplish as a team. And I think to me, that's progress. And I think it has made Automation Anywhere better than it was before.
All right. Is there anything else that we have not talked about that you wanted to discuss?
I live in the world of intelligent automation and artificial intelligence. And as I mentioned, some of the work that we are doing is to bring nonprofits to utilize these technologies to help society be better in whatever mission they are accomplishing. And I'd like to give a couple of examples because they help understand the value that technology can bring, number one. But number two, I think the imperativeness of using that technology, whether it's for nonprofits or for profit companies. One of the examples I'd like to bring is to say we work with an organization in the Ukraine. It's an aid agency that helps basically take in aid requests on the ground for IDPs. IDP is internally displaced person. This is all volunteer run in many cases. And the volunteers, there's just so much work to be done, right? So they're always overwhelmed. And we developed a bot with another social nonprofit that we were working with, CFHT, and we helped automate a process of taking in that aid request. Now, it happened to be a nonprofit, but this could be a for profit company, it could be a government agency, it could be anything, right? And we were able to increase by 400% a day the number of aid requests they could take in. And then the process was automated, et cetera, et cetera. We were able to serve 32,000 more people in that same time frame than we could have otherwise. Now, to me, that is a not just a need, it's an imperative need. It's a need that's time bound. It's an organization that has to deliver, really, if we believe in humanity. And technology was able to enable it to do so. And I think that's significant. There's another organization, a for profit organization in the oil and gas field that we work with in the oil and gas industry, that was able to help automate a very financial, tax related bot process. And they were able to then save, talking 100 million plus dollars, and utilize that money to jumpstart their, for example, other initiatives, which included clean energy and other things. Now, again, as a society, if we do increase productivity and efficiency using the technologies at the right instance and the right time, we are able to unleash a lot of different things that serve all of us better. And to me, that's what technology is all about. And that's why I love and work in technology. And I think it can make us better in many, many ways.
I think that is such a cool narrative because I think a lot of times when people think about human rights or big world changing movements, they don't think about the tiny time suck processes that have to take place in order for change to happen. And
Mhm,
all of the bureaucracy, all of the hurdles that people have to go through, that ultimately comes down to paperwork, right?
mhm,
Ultimately comes down to aid requests
mhm,
or unlocking productivity, saving money because people are being more productive. And
mhm.
now this energy company can take that money and put it towards clean
Something
energy,
else, yeah, which is
right?
more important.
So
Exactly.
that is such a fascinating narrative in terms of just these tiny little moments that feel very mundane, adding
Mhm.
up into actual societal change for the better. So there's a through line. Yeah.
Yeah. And, again, my bet is on the humans always. I think humans are capable of great imagination, great strategy, and great vision. And you really have to enable them to be free enough to do so. So that's kind of the tenet of, I think, all technology, but definitely the industry that we are from. And that's what I see time and time again. If you enable those humans to take away some of the repetitive and mundane work, and then really rely on that technology to be intelligent enough to deliver it well, we are capable of such greatness.
That's amazing. I'm so glad you brought that up, that you brought those two stories to this discussion. So thank you.
Absolutely.